What's up, guys? This is Sam from Sword Style Guitar, coming to you live from the Bronx, giving you a quick lesson today about something that's rather abstract. However, I feel compelled to share it with you as it's something that it's a principle that I live my life very much by for the past 3 or 4 months since I've discovered it. And this is a departure from guitar playing. This is more into the realm of general life success formulas. And what it is the topic of this video is going to be live each day with your death in mind. Use your death as an advisor and a guide and something to hold close to you. I've been reading this book, The Greatest Salesman of All Time, or The Greatest Salesman in the World. Highly recommend that everybody read this. Whether you're not sure if you want to be successful, or you're just getting into it, or you're experienced. I would highly recommend reading this book. I just began reading it, and it is a beautiful book. I actually want to share with you a passage from this book that I really particularly love. The story thus far is about it flashes back in this chapter to a young man. Hang on one second. It flashes back to a young man who is living in ancient times with his master, who adopted him basically, and he puts him to work as a camel boy. And one day the boy asked the question of his master of, why can't he become something more? Why can't he be a salesman instead of a lowly camel boy? And they get into a conversation about it, and the boy and the man are in the middle of talking, and the older man, very wise and supposedly the greatest salesman of that generation, he gives this quote, and I think it's something very, very deep. He says, "Hayfield, so far as material wealth is concerned, there is only one difference between myself and the lowliest beggar outside Herod's palace. The beggar thinks only of his next meal, and I only think of the meal that will be my last. No, my son, do not aspire for wealth and labor, not only to be rich. Strive instead for happiness, to be loved and to love, and most importantly, to acquire peace of mind and serenity." And the boy goes on and continues to ask, "But these things are impossible without gold. Who can live in poverty with peace of mind? How can one be happy with an empty stomach? How can one demonstrate love for one's family if he is unable to feed, clothe, and house them? You yourself have said that wealth is good when it brings joy to others. Why then is my ambition to be wealthy not a good one? Poverty may be a privilege and even a way of life for the monk in the desert, but he has only himself to sustain, and none but God to please. I consider poverty to be a mark of lack of ambition or a lack of ability, and I am not deficient in either of these qualities," was his response. And they go on to have more of a conversation. There's more gems in there. But the thing that he's talking about there is literally living your life, imagining your final moments on your deathbed where you are sure to die. You're sure to pass on. What will be running through your head? And that's an incredibly deep thought for a guitar channel, I understand. However, it's so real, and it puts things immediately in perspective. I mean, if you are ever talking to yourself about, oh, well, maybe, I'll put off practice later because, I'm stressed and I don't have time. I mean, thinking about your own death, I mean, it just dwarfs that little BS comment. Like, you're not gonna practice because you're stressed. What are you gonna think when you're, we never know when death is coming. It's so important to keep that up front. I had this seed planted in my mind maybe 4 or 5 months ago when I started reading a lot of self-improvement literature. And, it's become a habit of mine to literally have the thought of death in my own personal death in my mind every day. I don't even have to consciously do it anymore. It's just something that I think about. And, I have a bunch of emotions about it. I think about, I have a lot of fear when I think about what that's going to be like. I have a lot of sadness that I am going to die one day. It's a battle that no one has bested that battle. It's just a matter of time until we all pass. And, it's really about, at the end of your life, how you feel you've spent your time. Will you feel like your time has been wasted? Will you feel regret for what you have not accomplished? Or will you feel a deep satisfaction for what you've done in your life? Will you feel like you've lived in a way that's been true to yourself? Or do you feel that you've lived in a way that's been superficial and you haven't really made connections, you haven't mentored anybody, you haven't loved people, who are close to you to the deepest of your abilities? Do you feel like you haven't lived deeply? You haven't truly gotten to the very gut of what makes you a human being and a man or woman, and really dug that out of yourself and put it to use. And in Guitar Land, that means there's no longer any excuse for you to not accomplish what you're doing, what you want to have. There's no excuse for you not to go after what you want with full force. There's just no excuse for it at all. If you're thinking in terms of your own death, if you're thinking in terms of that last meal that you'll have, if you're thinking in terms of the last time you'll be able to kiss your spouse goodbye, the last time that you'll be able to say hello to your favorite pet or your parent or your sibling. And it really stirs up emotion, which is exactly what you need. That is what you need to change. You need an emotion, and you need to really feel it in order to change. So, every day, live with the own thought of your own death. And, I can understand how people might find this like a really weird concept, but my suggestion is remain open-minded and be realistic, because what I'm saying is the truth, whether or not you like it. So, with that, remain with your death in mind. Always think to yourself, is this going to be, if I don't do this, am I going to regret this at the end of my life? If I don't push forward through the bullshit and do what I don't feel like doing, if I don't do things that scare me, how will I feel? Will I always wish that I had? And at the end of my life, will I Will that be something that I'm sickened by? I use that for my own personal motivation, and many other people who are successful do as well. I believe that's actually a mantra among ninjas in ninjutsu or something like that, the martial art that ninjas know. They live by that code. They use their own death as an advisor. Monks do it. Everybody does it that is successful. You need to start doing it as well and apply it to your practice. And soon, a lot of the problems that are manifesting itself in your playing will auto-correct purely because of this fact. You still need to work on other aspects, but this is a good starting point. A lot of people don't wake up until they have a moment of clarity from a near-death experience, but there's no reason you can't wake up now, and that's what I hope that this message gets across to you. So with that, have a thoughtful afternoon. I hope that this has affected some of you guys, and you would like to make this commitment to yourself to at least for today, meditate on your own death and try and see and try and go into those emotions. You know, whether that's like you feel that you're resisting it and you don't want to think about it because it's a scary, unknown concept. It's very indefinite. You can feel that. Or if you feel very scared and saddened because maybe you've had somebody close to you pass, whatever it is, go dive deep into those feelings and embrace it. I also will suggest a list of reading. I'll actually just give you this one book that I happen to absolutely love, and I think is probably the best book about this topic and just living your life to the maximum. And it's The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. And just go out and get that book. If you are a person on this planet, there's no reason you shouldn't read that book or listen to it on audio tape. I don't know if they have an audio tape, but just make sure you get that information in you, and your playing will definitely improve indirectly as a result of all of this. So thanks, guys. Subscribe to me. Feel free to write your comments, and I will respond to them as quickly as I can. Have a good afternoon. Think hard on this subject, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.